Dirty. Too dirty to clean my act up.
Sexuality is one of the strongest tools within marketing, in particular advertising. We are more often than not drawn to bare flesh, couples in locked embraces, and sultry poses looking right at us from pictures in a magazine. Most fragrances are advertised through the medium of sex by the influence of hormones on sexual behavior.
Perfume can be selected in order to reinforce or to affirm the personality of the person which carries it. Thus, publicity will concentrate all its efforts on the type of personality that the perfume represents so that the person who is wearing it has the feeling that she or he is associated to this fragrance.
Dr. Alan Hirsch, a neurologist studying the treatment of smell, says that these aromas connect to deep emotional cravings and feelings. The latest in brain science research has verified the connection between inhaling sexy scents and having enhanced intimate experiences. These studies shows that there was a positive effect on sexual desire, relationship bonds, and even physical sensations in the erogenous zones.
These scents affect the brain in three ways. First, they are instantly coded as arousal stimulus in the brain via the olfactory bulb. Secondly, they act on the amygdala, which is involved in the initial response to lovemaking cues. Thirdly, they trigger the diencephalon to release the pleasure chemicals dopamine and endorphins.
Dopamine is considered the molecule of desire and the source of sexual attraction. Diencephalon, which is located in the center of the brain, is where the conditions for arousal are created. Among its many functions, dopamine helps control our imagination and our sexual drive. It enables us to feel happy and self-confident, and it also motivates us to follow up on our intentions with action. On a more chemical level, dopamine is the master controller of desire.
Come here, rude boy, boy, can you get it up? Come here, rude boy, boy, is you big enough? Take it, yeah, baby, baby, yeah, take it, love it.
Endorphins are at the core of every pleasurable experience. All our sensations of pleasure cause endorphins to be released. The intoxicating feeling we have in the presence of endorphins motivate us to seek experiences that will cause and or repeat this effect. Timothy Moore, the associate psychology professor at York University, wrote an article titled Subliminal Advertising, What You See is What You Get, that stated fragrances influence consumer behavior by subconsciously altering their perception and motivation.
John N. Mackenzie, a theorist in the Freudian era, confirmed this notion in 1884 that based sex stimulants, such as perfume, were the primal source of all sexual attraction in nature.
The biological aspect of sexuality refers to the basic biological drive that exists in all species, which is hormonally controlled. So pheromones are substances that usually ignite the sexual urge and activities among human beings. The human vemeronasal organ, or VNO, a tiny organ situated in the human's nasal cavity, serves as the body's receptor of such substances. You can also say that pheromones are biological weapons of seduction. Under one of the major categories of J. N. Mackenzie's nose and smell concept, he believed that the septum of the nose is a structure which is essentially the anatomical analog of the erectile tissue of a penis. This supports what we explained earlier concerning the VNO organ. University of Delaware biologist Megan McCabe stated that the VNO sends the signals it receives from the pheromones to the human brain. Then the brain dictates the response of the body, which becomes evident in the human behavior.
Recent genetic research has shown the possibility of a receptor in the nose that can sense pheromones. Pheromones affect sexual behavior based on 5 chemicals: GnRH, LH, FSH, androstenedione, and copulin. GnRH is a chemical messenger that is sent from the brain to the genitals, which plays an important role in the control of sexual behavior. LH and FSH, or follicle-stimulating hormone, are chemicals in the pituitary gland that allow for proper function of sex organs in both men and women. Both of these are growth chemicals that are likely to influence human sexual behavior. Boehm, Zhu, and Buck from the U.S. National Institute of Health linked olfactory and pheromonal input to sexual behavior via the GnRH neuronal pathway. Science has allowed the use of the synthetic male sweat pheromone, or androstenedione, in cosmetics to boost hormonal level. Similarly, copulants have demonstrated to bring about a rapid increase in biochemicals, which are partially responsible for the sex drive in men, thereby causing a man to have a heightened desire to copulate.
My body rocks a rhythm. You beat my drum hard. I might just kick it. You wanna lick it. I love to stick it. From London to LA. Yeah, that's a ticket. Come on and get it.
I like that.
I like the Gucci. I love the dollar bill. I love your pocket rocket. We live to shock it. I like the way you smile. I might just bite your lip. I see you talking. Your hands are talking. I like that.
They are also believed to release neurotransmitters that directly modify men's behaviors, such as triggering sexual behavior. Naomi Morris, a biosocial scientist in Cambridge University, reported that sexual behavior is followed by exposure to the mixture and the composition of cosmetic perfume.
Grosser, Monty, Jennings, and Berliner in the School of Medicine at the University of Utah confirmed this and proposed in their article Behavioral and Electrophysiological Effects of Androstenedione, a human pheromone, that androstenedione is the most prominent androstenedione that is able to stimulate the human female vomeronasal organ, resulting in change in sexual activity.
Jacob and McClintock at the Department of Psychology in Chicago agree with this because the effects of chemicals activate the VNO epithelium tissue, resulting in mood changes and behavioral changes.
So based on the evidence we have provided for psychology and biology, do you believe it's morally right to create an erotic theme for the purpose of selling products such as perfumes? Steve Gregg, an author and professor from the University of North Texas, says that women tend to be shown as rewards for men who choose the right product. Women are used frequently in ads selling products that appeal to men due to target marketing, such as the one we see for fragrances. John Allen Cohen, a moral theorist in Netherlands, composed in his article Towards a New Paradigm in the Ethics of Women's Advertising that ads can be successful in generating sales without portraying women as things or mere sex objects, and without perpetuating various stereotypes. Women in these images are submissive and constantly in need of alteration, with a move to reinstate beauty as a natural thing, not an unattainable ideal.
In his paper, he also reviews general ethical issues on the advertising industry, including that 1. Advertising equates the pursuit of material gain with human happiness, and 2. Advertising pushes values as to what's good for the consumer. Nigel, Pope, Voges, and Brown state in their article, The Effect of Provocation in the Form of Mild Erotica on Attitude to Ad in Corporate Images, that it is likely that the use of such images should be illegal or frowned upon. Steve Gowald writes in his article, Sexuality and Ethics in Advertising, a Research Agenda and Policy Guideline Perspective, that sexuality in advertising is a major area of ethical concern. The presence of sexual appeal in advertising is very pervasive in the U.S. and in much of the world. Contemporary consumption is often promoted in terms of fulfilling erotic fantasies and appetites. The use of such appeals is consistently contested in terms of ethics, morality, and sexual norms. Foucault talks about the issue of sexuality in advertising and calls it a soft issue based on complex, subjective, and socially, culturally constructed roots and values.
Author Paul Rutherford of the book A World Made Sexy, Freud to Madonna, goes on to explore a sexual liberation movement shaped by the ideas of Marx and Freud. Not only was he in favor of sexual liberation, but also artistic expression and legitimization to promote products for eroticism. Essentially, it is evident that there is a relationship between the patterns of sexuality and consumer behavior in advertising, paying special attention on the role of sexuality within the media culture.